Hi guys, welcome back to episode 4 of We Evolve.
Today, we are going to be talking about maladaptive daydreaming. This may be a term that is rarely known. It's not talked about much. It was actually just recently discovered in 2002 by Dr. Eli Sommer. But what is maladaptive daydreaming? So, according to clevelandclinic.org, it is a behavior where a person spends extensive or excessive times daydreaming, often becoming immersed in their imagination. So it's typically used as a coping mechanism for those with anxiety, and it takes away your work, hobbies, friendships, relationships. And by you sitting alone and imagining certain scenarios, it's taking away time from all the other things that I just mentioned. It's basically daydreaming on crack, if you really think about it. Because, like, you think of your typical daydream, you get bored in class, you start wandering off to other things. This is a much more extreme version of that. Like I mentioned before, this is a coping mechanism. So, have you guys ever experienced maladaptive daydreaming?
I think I have. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people have. Like daydreaming in the extent of like imagining different scenarios and like you know what I mean?
Mind
I
you,
think
okay, let me give you a scenario that is like maladaptive daydreaming.
Mhm.
You reject making plans with friends, or you skip out
Oh.
time to do a hobby, or you just or you sit alone in your room for hours and hours on end. You are going through the same scenario like 37 times, and it's just like a storyline that you are picturing in your head. There's different characters, and you're just going through the story.
Can I ask a question? Does it relate to like can you relate it back to your personal life? Like maybe a situation's going on right now and you're using different, I guess like thinking of different scenarios like what you can say and like just like
Not necessarily. Like, for example, you could be a person that just has a lot of anxiety,
mhm.
and talking to other people, trying new things, the idea of continuing things can cause a lot of stress. Like, for example, procrastination or something
Mhm.
like that. And then you're in your head, you're like sitting alone in your room and you're imagining going out and eating lunch with your friends. You're imagining riding a horse. You're imagining being at your dream job, or really like just doing anything mundane, normal, or it could be extraordinary. It doesn't matter. It's your
Mhm.
imagination, but you're just sitting in it. Like, there's all this crazy stuff that's happening all around you and in your head, but in reality, you're just for hours. And like you could be it's like often involves pacing back and forth, like in your room over and over again.
I don't think I've experienced it to that extent. I
Mm.
mean, I feel like I've definitely daydreamed. Dreamed is the right word.
Daydream.
Yeah, daydreamed. But I don't think I've ever like chose to daydream over doing something else in a
Yeah,
sense.
me
But
too.
sometimes when you're in like class and it's like super boring and you just like start
Yeah.
daydreaming, like dozing off. That I do that. I mean, I've never made daydreaming like an activity
Hmm.
that I'm doing instead of something Like your else. hobby, yeah, no. Me neither. Like I have, but it's like not in yeah, exactly what you said. Like I wouldn't skip out on like hanging out with my friends to
Mm.
Yeah, and I also do
Mm.
think
Mm.
that me personally, it's not like you know how you said that it's like usually like one scenario that you're like either building upon or like it's never like that for me, to be
Mhm.
honest. It's like new daydreaming thing like every time I
Or
daydream.
reimagining the scenario.
It's not like I think about like
Like, your mind has the capacity to always come up with something new.
well, I think it's like okay, think about this like when you're sleeping, what are the chances that you're gonna have experience the same dream 2, 3 days in a row? You know what I mean? Like you're usually
True.
dreaming about different things.
No, well, it depends. Like, it depends on certain neurological stressors. Like, for example, if there was a severe trauma that happened in someone's life, they might be daydreaming or
Yeah,
sleeping and dreaming about
the
that same
same
thing
incident.
over
Yeah.
and over again.
I think for me, like I don't think I've had any crazy trauma like that, like where it's always in my head, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I feel like everyone's experienced trauma at some level, but even when I'm sleeping, I don't think I've ever dreamed the same dream again. I mean, unless like subconsciously, I don't know what I dream about, but I have never noticed that I dream about the same thing again. And to me, it's also like when I go back to sleep, a new dream starts, even though I'm sleeping like in the same day. Does that make sense? So if I'm sleeping like
Well, if we take, oh, continue.
if I'm sleeping like 8 p.m. to like 1 and then I suddenly wake up to use the bathroom, 8 p.m. to 1 I have a dream and that doesn't continue the next time. I have like a different dream when I'm sleeping like 1 to 6. So that kind of relates to my daydreaming. What I'm trying to say is that every time I realize that I'm going into a daydream, it's not the same dream. Or it's not the same daydream, whatever.
Daydreaming is you're awake, but I get what you're trying to say. But like daydreaming for me, I would be like I could imagine the same scenario but happening like different, like maybe I said something different in this scenario and
Mm-hmm.
then I change it or this happened or and I yeah.
But, like with these scenarios, you'd be making them up in your head. It wouldn't be like you thinking about something in the
It
past.
could be something in the past, it could be something I'm sad about that I'm just like imagining different things happening. Like, oh, I could have said this, or I could have done this.
Like I
You know?
think it kind of relates to like overthinking and
Oh, yeah.
daydreaming. Does that make sense? Maybe it's not called daydreaming then. Like maybe it's just
Well,
called
that's
like overthinking.
Overthinking.
Like I don't know.
so
Okay.
that's so this might be a common misconception,
Mm-hmm.
but maladaptive daydreaming is you're thinking about something, you're not overthinking about something that someone said. You are just making things up.
Like a rant. Like it could
Like it's
literally
just
be
a
like
story, it's a movie, it's an illusion,
like
but it's
oh like I'm
happening
an
in your head.
actor. Like in my head I'm an actor. Like I'm acting in a movie. Like something like that.
Sure.
Wait,
So
I
like
think we did that as kids. I'm not gonna
No, I
lie.
feel like we do that, but I
Like
don't think
sometimes I
we
do,
do it to
yeah.
the extent of maladaptive
Like
daydreaming.
I heard about this topic that people actually imagine like they can see it. Like they have hallucinations and stuff, like to that extreme level.
well, you actually don't like so that's the difference between so this is not technically
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed or like seen as a diagnosis of a mental illness. It's not I don't believe it's actually been recorded by the APA,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Is it like a
American Psychiatric
is it like a
Association or
coping mechanism?
associations. It's yeah, that's the point. So like who's more likely to experience maladaptive daydreaming? It's people with depression, general anxiety, social anxiety, OCD, um, where people that often dissociate between reality and what's going on in their head, and also people that experience extreme positive or negative emotion, and they take this alternate reality that they can create in their own mind to get out of the real one. Um, Also, it's found in people with attention deficit disorder. So,
Mm.
there was a Harvard article that found that nearly 80% of the participants that have maladaptive daydreaming also had ADHD and other anxiety disorders. So 71% of people had other anxiety disorders, 56.4% depression, 53.9% with OCD. And as I mentioned before, it provides a mental escape.
I just think that everyone probably experiences some form of daydreaming because
But
I
it
don't really
depends on the
explain it. Like, is it,
severity.
yeah, I just think that, but I don't think that I have experienced to this level. Like, yeah, like,
Can I give you some signs?
yeah, wait, let me just explain. Like, do you remember in the first episode when I told you that I was like dealing with depression and stuff like during my sophomore year of high school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say like then, like, I was thinking like, oh, like, if if this was different or if this was different, but it was never that I was like, canceling plans and like choosing to daydream.
Well, that's another thing is like if this was different or if that was different, you're not looking at the reality of your life. Like
You're just
if
random,
you're
like uncorrelated stuff.
yes, so if you are in your room and it's during COVID and you're like, if there wasn't a pandemic, then school wouldn't be shut down and this could be happening and that could be happening. That's you thinking
That's just thinking.
about like an alternate reality, which this is essentially that, but it's just no connection. Like
Yeah.
yours has a connection. Oh, if in reality there's a pandemic.
Like you are living a whole other life in your head. And it's not
Yes.
correlated to
And it's like you
what
could
you're
go
doing.
that route where it's like, oh, if there wasn't a pandemic, then school would be happening and I would be doing this. and it's like you keep thinking about that for hours.
So could it also be like so someone that is like going through I guess maladaptive daydreaming, is this something like that goes on for like years and they're building on the same storyline for years?
It depends on who you talk to. So this can become an addiction, I suppose. It can be addictive. So,
Coping mechanism.
right. So essentially, some people can do this for many years, and they just come up with new and different storylines, and they might keep the same storyline for a long period of time. It depends on who you talk to, because
So yeah, because I was asking because what is the difference between that and then regular daydreaming?
so the difference between this and regular daydreaming is, well, the fact that it can then be harmful to you. Like daydreaming is like
When you're
you
bored or when you have nothing to do.
right, like when you're bored or when your mind wanders, it's pretty natural. This takes it to an extreme level. This, like I mentioned, it happens for hours on end. So signs that people can display that can tell the difference is, as I mentioned before, avoiding social interaction and activities, the inability to do daily tasks or work, and then extreme feelings of shame or guilt, typically when you have work to do and you're sitting and doing work, and then all of a sudden you start daydreaming, and then it just lasts for God knows how long. And then you come back to reality, you start feeling guilty for all the time that you just lost. Um, or you're feeling guilty for not spending enough time with people that you can be, but instead you're daydreaming. Feeling a compulsive need to daydream that you can't control, which is where the addiction factor comes in, and making a conscious effort to lessen your daydreams. Like once you realize, okay, this is a problem and I need to daydream less, maybe you are experiencing maladaptive daydreaming.
Do
So
you
crazy.
So
Go
do the
flat.
people who experience this for hours on end know that they're experiencing this for hours?
Well, yeah.
Oh, they
Okay.
do. Okay.
So they're conscious of it.
So if I'm like if okay, pretend you're actively daydreaming and I come up to you and I'm like talking to you, would that still register in your head?
Again, it depends.
Or is it
Typically,
because then what is the difference between that and then like hallucinations?
so
Well,
that's
hallucinations, you see stuff, like
Well,
yes.
physical
that's
stuff, you know?
technically what you're doing, right? Like you're seeing it in
You're
your head.
mad.
So with maladaptive
Yeah.
daydreaming, oh, continue.
I mean, like hallucinations is you're like visually seeing something, and then maladaptive daydreaming is more like imagining it in your head. So like you're not seeing anything, you're just thinking of it. If that makes sense.
But I feel like it's like you're in this
Hallucinating.
state where you're in your head. Like, both things are like in your head. You know what I'm
But
saying?
you're like physically here. If that makes sense.
But that then again, like, how I asked the question,
Mm-hmm.
like, so if I come up to you and talk to you while you're
Mm-hmm.
maladaptively
Mm-hmm.
daydreaming, will you be able to respond to me?
Which Julian
Yeah.
says
Like,
depends, yeah, on per person.
like if you're really into it, if I'm or even if you're regularly daydreaming and you're really into the daydream and someone goes, Diksha, Diksha, and then you'd be like, what?
Yeah,
You
like
know?
Yeah.
And so,
whereas like hallucinations, you're actually seeing it. Like I would be reacting right now if I were to see something.
right. So hallucinating
Okay.
is seeing your alternate reality. Maladaptive daydreaming is imagining your alternate reality, if that makes sense. Um,
So just to clarify, the person that's going through this
mhm.
knows that they are
Yeah, they're
daydreaming.
conscious of it. And that's
Okay.
why they make a conscious effort to stop it or to lessen it. But it can that's what I mean. Like even though you're conscious of it, it doesn't make it less harmful. Like smoking. You know that you're smoking, you're conscious of it. You could be conscious of the fact that it is bad for you
Yeah,
as
but what
well.
I'm trying to say is if they are conscious of it,
Yeah.
then they can like they have the ability to stop it if they want to. But if they're not conscious of it, it's even harder.
Um, well that's another thing. I don't well hallucinating is not necessarily addictive, while maladaptive daydreaming is.
But you're not
But
controlling
I'm
the
saying with the
halluc.
hallucinations, like
Yeah.
it may not be in your power to even try to stop it.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to say.
essentially.
Yeah.
So even though maladaptive daydreaming is addictive, like that aside, if you're conscious of it, there are still people out there that are not addicted to it, but are still maybe victim to it, and they can choose to stop it.
It's
but
like
I don't,
it's like
if
based
that
on
makes
them.
sense.
Like
Yeah,
either they choose to continue to do it or
exactly.
they're like, Loki, I
Like
should
I
stop.
can't, yeah, so like pretend if I was having hallucinations,
Yeah.
I cannot be like, I want this to stop
No,
if
yeah.
it's not gonna stop. You know, like that's
Yeah.
It's like
like it's
yeah.
much harder to, I actually don't even know
I
how
think
you
you
can
can
stop hallucinations, but
Well, the medication.
yeah.
yeah, like I mean like without any medication. Like how do you do that I don't know if you do that because it's a mental thing. Like
Yeah.
you don't actually see anything like that's in your head.
It's typically a symptom of
A
like
physical issue, I think.
mental
Schizophrenia.
degeneration, like you have schizophrenia, Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
something of that nature. Um, but there are, well, because of the little research that has been done behind it, according to the National Institute of Health, only 2.5% of people have actually self-reported experiencing maladaptive daydreaming. And this is from a study that was a while ago, so I'm sure
More people.
that more people since then have started experiencing it. And like as I mentioned before, many people don't know about the disorder, and few studies have been done on it, and it's in a completely different country, which is why there are low numbers as of right now, or as of then. And then there's also a scientific article that reported that there may be a connection between low serotonin levels and an increase in your likelihood of having maladaptive disorder or maladaptive daydreaming. Um, and serotonin is essentially a hormone and a neurotransmitter that influences your sleep, appetite, mood, bone and blood health, learning and memory. So if that's off balance, then you're going to be experiencing a lot of other mental difficulties. Let's put it that way.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If I know, like you said, there was only like 2.5 people like reporting this. Like, are people not reporting it because they think it's like not an issue, or is it just like they think it's a taboo, or like people don't
That's
believe it?
that's just within the study.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. So it could be. All right.
So it could be more.
Yeah.
Um, and within that research study, there was a strong correlation between the quantity
Mhm.
of, let's just say, hours, or the amount of time that you put into the daydreaming, and the intensity of it. So when you say like, oh, if I tried to talk to you, with the person with maladaptive daydreaming be able to register that? If they are much more attuned to their dream, if they are more used to maladaptive daydreaming, it has a tighter grip on them,
Hmm.
and it's going to be a lot harder for you to get them out of it. And as I mentioned before, on average, participants reported daydreaming for over 4 hours.
On
Oh my
On
average, it's
average.
crazy. There's people that do that for
like the whole
longer.
day. Good. Gosh.
Um, yeah, essentially.
Wow.
So can these people seek help? Like what,
Is there like treatment?
like what do they do for this? Because this is not, it's not something that's physical.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I guess they could do like some serotonin level if that's the issue.
Issue, yeah.
Well, it's mainly seeking the help of a psychiatrist or a psychologist, like
So
going to therapy,
talking
essentially.
about it.
Talking, because
Because
when
they're
you think of
using that to
any,
cope.
because it's
So
like, well, what would you, right, exactly.
yeah, so if you talk about it, then that's your coping.
Because anybody with a coping mechanism
Yeah.
usually has one,
Mm-hmm.
because they're avoiding something else. They're
Mm-hmm.
trying to soothe themselves from a problem that they're avoiding or that they're in denial of. By going to therapy, not only would you be addressing the behavior, but also the root cause of the behavior, and then trying to figure out a way to deal with it, to work through it, to solve not necessarily the problem, but your mindset towards it, which is a lot easier said than done. And it's like a
Yeah,
very short,
simple version of it.
simple version of therapy, essentially. And it's like, that still doesn't do it justice.
Kind of reminds you of DID or DID. Do you know if you're familiar with that? It's multiple personality disorder.
Oh,
Yes.
And
yeah.
people,
Okay.
they go through such a traumatic event, their own body builds like a defense system and like creates different personalities.
Yeah.
Which like it's not exactly like that, but again, people are using daydreaming as like a coping mechanism. Like they go and imagine a different world where it's like a different person, like a persona comes
Yeah.
in front.
Except it's just not in real life. It's
It
just in your
is.
head.
It for yeah,
For
for
yeah.
daydreaming, yeah.
There was a movie about that. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about?
know. Oh, what's it called?
We're
It's I
gonna.
know what movie it is. It's really good.
God, now I'm like forgetting the actor.
No.
I'm
Is it
forgetting his-
English?
It's English. It's man, I forgot,
Yeah, I don't watch it.
It's really good. It's like about this guy. He kidnaps these three girls, and then the girls are looking at him, and he's like coming out as like different people. Like he dresses up like as a woman because he believes he's a woman, and like he'll come and he'll like talk to them like super kindly, but then all of a sudden he'll close the door and another person comes out, and it's like a
But it's
kid.
the same
It's
guy.
the same guy, but he acts like a little kid, and he like walks around. And he like talks about like toys and everything. It's not fractured. It's like it's something like Glass or Split.
Split.
Split. It
Is
was
it a
a
horror movie?
Split.
It's like a thriller. It's really interesting though.
It's
You learn a lot.
it was an amazing movie, honestly.
Oh my god, I'm gonna watch this.
James McAvoy,
He's
that
so good.
phenomenal performance.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I have
See, these
like
are
that's
the
these are all the
they can't
there's
say about it.
Patricia,
Like this.
there's yeah.
Patricia's right here, and then the kid is like Edward or something. Something
I don't think I've
and he
read
has like a child. And he's like they like the girls
Maybe
I don't want to spoil
genuinely.
anything, but like, they use that to their advantage and they like, do stuff to the certain characters. It's really cool. You watch it.
But it puts into perspective
Mm-hmm.
like how people can sometimes
Like
face different realities and
it's
things
so
that our
crazy.
mind
It's so
does.
interesting. It's like your like your body can do like your mind, not your body, but your
Your
mind
mind.
can do that and just like turn yourself off and bring someone else in front, like as a protector. Just so interesting. I can't like wrap my head
Your
around it.
mind does interesting things to protect itself. Like
So
sometimes you can simply forget things of the past. You
just
know,
because you don't want
Wanna
to,
remember
yeah, you
that?
don't want to remember it. And then, oh my God,
like
that's
have
so
you ever
cool.
been
Yeah.
talking to your siblings and all of a sudden you'd be like, "Do you remember when that thing happened?" And they're like, I don't remember that like
Yeah,
at all."
that's so cool. I mean, that's not cool, but like, it's like interesting.
It's so
Yeah.
cool that people have mental illnesses. Like,
Don't say that.
you
I
know?
mean, it's like very interesting to see how like your mind has so many like obviously
It
like
can do so
it can
much.
do so much and not like physicians and researchers like they're not accustomed to like what your mind can do like fully.
Like it's like not it's like we're so worried about things that can happen to us physically, but we can be a danger to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
because of our mind. Which is crazy because it's like,
Like your mind can do all that.
yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting, but it's like, you know, you're right. It's like
Because we've only reached a certain percentage of our brain's capacity.
mm-hmm. Oh my God. Forgot about that.
Like, there's a lot
That's
more
crazy.
that
That's
we
actually
have yet to
crazy.
discover.
And do researchers, like physicians, do they know about all that?
I mean, it's probably much harder to research the brain just because like
I
thing
mean,
is
they
like
like,
everyone
yeah,
these are not physical. Like like things are not physical. How can you go in and see someone's thoughts unless we have some kind of machine for
device,
like we
yeah,
develop some kind
yeah.
of machine for that.
That's so interesting.
But like for right now, for the way that the mental health care system is right now, it's kind of dependent on the person. Like
Yeah,
it's dependent
truly.
on how you explain it, how
Mm-hmm.
you say what you're going through. But then it's like if you don't say it, there's nothing people can do to help you because they can't get inside your head and
Yeah,
try to
so
figure
it's
things
so
out.
like interesting.
Because like it's just harder to look at because it's not physical. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's not like something that's like,
yeah, like oh okay, like you have a little cut. Let's
but
fix it.
like
Like
in your
that's not a
mind,
cut.
that's
Like
like,
that's not like there's not a cut in your brain.
mm,
It's not like you know what I
yeah.
mean?
There's
And
also,
yeah, so, no,
continue.
you go.
Like factors of different versions of the truth, I suppose. So if somebody's asking you something, you can withhold information.
Or like say some of the
You
truth, but
can
not
say,
all the truth.
right.
You could say
And
it in a way where like if they were to ask in a different way, it is true, but like
yeah,
something,
framing of questioning is
yeah,
also
that's so crazy.
very dependent. Like, your answer really
Mm-hmm.
depends on that. And so when you have subjects that people that go. Well, when you're trying to detach and you're
Yeah.
looking at this person, um, they might go through an experience and only tell you so much because that's
Be-
all they're
yeah.
capable of.
That's why when you go to like therapy and stuff, like they might not be telling you everything, you
I
know?
think that
Yeah.
also
Causes.
relates to our first episode, how we talked about, or our second one, I talked about depression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes like when you have something to say about how you feel, but you can't get it across properly because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, how can you describe it so the other person knows exactly
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like, for example, you're getting like a shot. If another person's got a shot before, they know how it feels.
But like
Or
if you
like you
haven't,
can show it to them how it feels. But, like if you're feeling something, how do you show it to them? Like
mm-hmm.
how can you express it if you can't like cuz sometimes I'll say things that when I say them, they don't really sound that serious or that
Mm-hmm.
deep or like I should be worried. But then it's like
Yes.
you're not actually understanding how I feel in my head.
Like
Like I
So
don't there's no way for me to
yeah.
explain it.
it's hard for your feelings to become validated because other people don't understand it and they
Yeah.
haven't been through it. Therefore, when other people are trying to do that, they get anxiety, or they're feeling that all the time, and they don't have the mental capacity to go do their hobby anymore, go hang out with friends anymore,
Because
go
that's
do their
all you're
job anymore.
thinking about.
And to escape from that,
People
people
go.
go back to
Okay.
maladaptive daydreaming, and they do that for hours.
So could this be resolved by treating whatever like mental, like I guess mental illness you're going through, or like whatever issue you're going through?
Well, you,
I feel like anything mental is something that you're constantly making a conscious effort
Mm,
to not do.
mm,
I don't think it's ever going to be like a one-time fix.
mm.
Like I don't think like if you get a cut, okay, you can stitch it up and you're done. But I don't think anything like if you have anxiety, there's like
It doesn't.
a super high chance like you are going to
Yeah.
be living with anxiety for the rest of your life unless you make the conscious effort to cope with that. Does that make sense?
right. But unfortunately, sometimes some people fall into coping mechanisms that aren't the healthiest for them. This being an
Yes. Yeah.
example.
Agreed.
And a lot of the times when you do say like, "Oh, you have to make the conscious effort to develop coping mechanisms, therapy being one of them," that could be very expensive and unaffordable. And when people neglect themselves for so long, then it ends up becoming much worse to the point of addiction or to the point of suicide, for example. And there's also the societal taboo behind it as well. Like even if you have enough money to do it, it's still like
What would they
weird. What
think?
would
Like,
what would people think if they
Like
saw me going to
therapy, at least
therapy?
in our community,
also,
is looked down. Like it's they,
Yeah,
you know, they
it's
think like something's wrong with you.
it's like if you
exactly.
even
And
suggest it, they're
Yeah,
like,
they're
"Are
like
you
you can just
crazy?"
talk about it with us.
exactly.
You don't have to go to a professional.
And then like if you are a child and you're explaining this to your parents in our community, it's like, "Oh, so we're just terrible parents?" Like,
Mm,
no.
yeah.
You are a like why would you think about that? You're a horrible person for even like we went through all this for you and now you want to go to therapy?
So
Like
like the book you said, kind of like that.
yeah.
This comes back
And
to me.
so what
Also,
is sorry, I
no,
was
you go continue.
like what is free?
She's in her
No,
she's in her rant.
no, but like
You got
no, but
it.
like this is the last point that I'm gonna make. What is free? What can you do alone? What is something that nobody would know about? And what is something that can take care of you for hours?
Maladaptive
Maladaptive daydreaming.
daydreaming.
Hmm.
You are no longer, oh, this reality is super terrible. It's giving you anxiety, depression, PTSD, OCD. You're experiencing all these things. Oh, well, let me just shut it off for a second.
And to go think about something.
Go think about
But
something
Hmm.
else.
so then that's when I think I don't go to it to that extent because I feel like even if I were to daydream and think about something else or like try to distract my mind, it's like those thoughts still come back, you know?
You know,
I think also, sorry, what I
yeah,
was trying to say before was that I think also that people don't know about these things yet. It's
yeah,
not like, well, no, this is an actual thing. Like, this is an actual thing. And also, like, not to mention, some people that have anxiety or depression, even though it's like known,
Mhm.
they don't know they have it, even though they're going through it, which is also another reason we're making this podcast
Mhm.
so we can talk about things that go on in our life that can actually mean something
spread
else or,
awareness to
like
it.
just, yeah, just bringing awareness, talking about it. But I think, like, when I was growing up, I thought a panic attack was something that you're people are just like doing overaction and they're just honestly
Like, y'all overdoing it.
yeah, like
Just breathe. It's
like
fine.
literally like I'm just like in my head I'm like, how do you forget how to
Dude,
breathe,
yeah.
brother? Like
But once you're older,
it's like
and
once you're older, yeah. So
realize-
now that like I have, like learned about it in school, like I think now in like 2020, like now when we're in high school, college, like mental health is definitely getting more recognition and people are talking. But I mean, yes, there's still a long way to go because
Mhm.
we're like
I feel like our
we're like
generation
a
will come
thousand
through.
years back,
We'll
thousand
We'll
years
come
behind.
through.
y'all.
We're gonna come through.
We gonna bounce back and come through.
But I think it's getting more attention and stuff. So people are like
Mhm.
like we learned about anxiety and depression when we were in high school from
Yeah.
like in house class and stuff, and that was actually one of the reasons. That's actually how we started.
Oh my
Started we
god.
put in
Our
house
origin
class,
story.
but yeah,
Origin story is crazy.
but
And these three girls came together.
After learning about mental health in health class.
yeah,
It's giving Powerpuff Girls. Anyway,
yeah, I think that then I was like, oh, like this is not like a physical, like yes, it is physical, like panic attacks can be physical, but it all starts from your mind.
Mhm.
Like it's coming from your mind. It's like it's not that you it's like I don't explain it. Like it's
external
just,
factors it's a thing too, you know?
it is a thing. Like panic attacks can take a physical toll on you, but it's it's originating from your head. Like
Yeah,
it is coming from
that's
your mind. And
it's originating from outside factors that are causing you to react.
yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. That's what I mean.
Can I tell you a funny story after you're finished with that?
Funny story after this is crazy.
Okay, so when you're done talking about how people have debilitating anxiety,
No, it's about
let me tell you a funny story about my life.
Still, it's about this thing about this, but
Yeah, but I think that that's definitely one of the reasons that people like don't like I did not know maladaptive daydreaming was a thing until like last month. And like I'm 20 or like about to be 20. So that's like crazy because like if we don't know about it and we're like 19, 20, then like there's
imagine,
so many people other
yeah.
kids people
Imagine
that
the
don't
younger
know it
generation
or the
thinking this is-
older
yeah.
generation.
Oh,
They probably don't know too. And then it's also like there are probably a lot of other things that your brain can do that we just don't even know about that people can be dealing with, but they don't know it's a thing, so they don't know that it's like bad. Does that make sense? Like I'm sure 10 years ago that was not a thing. Like maladaptive daydream.
Yeah,
20
yeah,
years
yeah.
ago.
at first, so Eli Sommer, the doctor that I mentioned, he's a clinical psychologist at the University of, I'm probably mispronouncing this, but Haifa in Israel. And he's the one that coined the term, and it was first introduced in 2002.
Okay, so like,
Wow.
okay, so let's go back even further. Like pretend 19
Like
1980s or
yeah.
like whenever. I'm sure like when the first cancer case came out, they did not know maladaptive daydreaming was a thing.
Right.
And like
Well,
people
the
were
first cancer
definitely
case did not come out in 1980.
Okay, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if we take it back like
Yeah.
1980, 19
Yeah.
like when our parents were kids.
Yeah.
I don't think
No.
for when our parents were kids, I don't even think anxiety was talked about. So like you forget about maladaptive daydreaming, like people I'm sure that back then people were doing it too, but no one
knew
Like, if
the
you went up
terms
to my
to
parents when they were kids and they're like,
do you have
what anxiety is? Like, is that like a new country that we haven't discovered?
Oh my
What's
God.
anxiety? Is it like a food item? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and back then too, it's like people would think like if like this is it sounds really mean, but when people call someone like crazy, but they might not actually be crazy, like they're just like dealing with stuff. But to people that are calling the other person crazy in their head, they're like, oh, like they just have a weak mind. Like they're just like they don't know what they're doing. Like they don't like you know what I'm saying? But like that's probably not what's happening. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're probably dealing with something else and then coping by doing whatever they're doing. Like the split personality, whatever they're probably doing that because of something else. It's probably not they just woke up one day and like, oh, I want to be someone else today. Like that's not what's happening.
it's about perspective, putting yourself in the other person's shoes.
Exactly.
But
Oh,
What's your
you had a
funny
funny
story?
But,
Or
like,
like panic attacks wise.
oh, Jesus.
Just like
Well, before, like, I'm just gonna say one thing, which is like, for some reason, this reminds me of, like, when you're thinking of something very scary or negative, and your parents are just like, just don't think about it. Like,
Wait,
I feel like
why are you
this is like,
so
okay, and then just thinks about something else for several
Wait.
hours until it becomes an addiction.
Oh my god. Okay,
This
so
Yeah, let me just think let me just go into my daydreaming. Like
because like I
wait, no,
know
you're still right.
people that actually have this condition,
Like, don't think about it. And
and
then think about
no, but like this is like, and I've heard their parents say, just don't think about it,
Oh,
and just like seeing it manifest
I
into
think they have to
this.
switch from saying don't think about it to like, okay, come to me, talk
Let's
to
think
me.
about this.
Let's think about this. Let's
Let's
talk
work
about this.
through this.
that's the thing with the society, bro. Like they just like the things they don't talk about are the reasons that things are
And the
other
thing
things
is,
are
they
happening.
think you're sorry.
Why solve problems when you can ignore them?
The thing is, like, I feel like they take it as like not so serious in the beginning, and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, like don't think about it. Like, it's not that deep. And
Because
then
you're young. What
Yeah.
problems do you have?
yeah.
That's the thing. It's also like sometimes like I've heard parents like all you have to do is be a student. Like
No,
why are you
I
so
hate that. I hate that.
what problems could you
All
possibly
you
have?
have to do is
Not
just study
everything.
and you're
Not everything
fine.
comes down to like oh like physical stuff. Like not everything comes down to like oh like okay I have
Education.
a car. It's not like oh I can't. You know what I'm saying? It's
No,
like
I get it.
the stress or like the struggles.
Like
Like
be
also it's not like every
anything.
single person in your life is being the most amazing person
No,
to you.
no. Okay, one funny story, guys.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like a realization I like
That'd
had.
be so funny, Shawani.
Wait, chill, it's not that funny. It's just like a realization I had. Like,
Okay.
looking back, it's like so many years after. But anyway, so when I was a kid, my parents put me in singing class. And like I'm talking like the Carnatic, classical Indian music, okay?
Okay, they took you to a singing class.
Yes. Not it, I just have it every week. And the teacher there was like super scary, very like degrading, very rude. Which like realize I'm not even saying this as a kid, like trauma type. Like it's just like I'm looking back older, I'm like, yeah, that's like not a treatment you should do to little children, you know? Like children like growing up. Anyway, I realized before every class, like every weekly class, it was like a time schedule. I would like start freaking out, start like sobbing to the point where it's like you're crying so hard you can't breathe.
Hyperventilating.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would be like as a kid, like I'm not realizing like, oh, I just didn't want to go to the class. But like looking back, it's like I had like trauma. Like I did not want to be there. Like sobbing, crying, begging my mom, like on my hands and knees, like, please don't send me to this class. And it was just like so much like developed, like looking when I like older and stuff, it's like wow.
This was not funny, Shawani.
It's not funny, it's just a realization.
What?
It's not a little funny story. I used to have panic attacks when I was a kid.
And once I quit that class, bruh, it was blessed. Nothing happened after that. I didn't feel that.
Oh.
It's kind of sad. Just like free
If you're coping by saying it's funny.
I probably did.
It's a coping mechanism, y'all.
It's funny.
Making jokes out of things that.
Oh, I feel like a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Like anything
Like,
like
prime example, Chandler Bing from Friends. Just he's.
Wait,
I
I've
feel
never
like,
seen Friends.
The nurse in front.
really?
Sorry.
You watch How I Met Your Mother and you don't watch the original?
You didn't watch it?
I never watched Friends.
Wait, it's the original?
No, like
No,
Friends
meaning like
was
the
like
Oh, you mean like the original?
it's like out of
a
all
big
of
show.
the
Friends
group
was.
of white people that get together and do absolutely nothing every day, I feel like Friends was
Yeah,
the
you're
number
right.
one.
Yeah.
But my point being is like he also went through a very interesting childhood. For those like that I've actually watched Friends, Chandler's history, his relationship with his father, the stories that he has about that, and so now he's just an overly sarcastic guy that likes to make a joke about everything, and that could be a reason.
You know what I think? I think that
Ooh, she got serious. She said,
She's like, you know what
you
I
know what
think
I think?
about coping mechanisms? It's funny.
It's actually about no, Shivani.
wait, with me? Oh.
I think that like to be honest, like every type of coping mechanism is bad if you take it too far.
Like, what do you mean?
Like-
Elaborate.
Like there are different ways that you can cope with different things,
Mhm.
right? It's all fine if you keep it like limited. Like if you joke about things like normal, like how you're like it's like that's like fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. But then if you take it to like extreme levels where
Like,
you're
I
I
think
don't
it's a lot more nuanced than that.
Like, wait,
For
explain.
example, like,
What?
no, I was just you're saying explain.
No,
You
just
said
like, no,
you said explain. I don't know if you were saying explain it to her
No,
or like,
explain. Both of you guys.
but like talk on the podcast. Let's go. But like for example, somebody might be dealing with a lot of anxiety, and so they smoke weed for
Mm.
like to mellow them out. And if they do too much, then it can be a problem. Or somebody might be very anxious and like smoke cigarettes. So when you smoke cigarettes, like that can cause lung disease. That can cause cancer. That can cause extreme lung damage. Doing any bit of it, in my viewpoint, is bad. It's not like keeping it within like a certain amount or balancing it or doing too much. Doing any matter of it is not good. Um, Talking to your friends. Sure, I could see like if you talk about your issues too much with them, then it can be a burden on them. Or like therapy if you overdo it. I think there's some things where if you're right, if you overdo it, then even if
Like,
they're good, it becomes bad.
mhm.
And then there are some coping mechanisms where if it's bad, it doesn't matter how much you do, whether it's a small amount or a big amount.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the ones that are like generally considered good.
Okay.
That if you take like too far, then like for example, like somebody said, a lot of people cope with things by making it a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, like even I do that, and I don't think that that's a problem. Like I don't think that's a bad way to cope if that's working for you. But if people take that like way too far, and I don't know anyone that's taken funny like far, if that makes sense, but I'm sure there's a way that you can
Mm-hmm.
take it like far. And like maybe you're taking it so far that you're starting to joke about other people's trauma too because you think it's
Yeah.
like it's helping with like that would be bad.
Yeah.
Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense? Like
Yeah.
if you take like even good things too far, that would be bad.
Just because it's for
Yeah.
you to cope with doesn't mean you should
Yeah.
be. Yes.
But that's also like that's just for that. Like I'm sure there's like pretend you use daydreaming as a coping mechanism. And if you're just daydreaming, like honestly, like that's not my thing is that yes, therapy is a great coping mechanism for pretty much anything, physical, mental, so like anything, it's great. But I'm sure that there are other coping mechanisms if you feel that you can manage things on your own. Like if you think that you can joke about it and like it's not going to cause anything for you, like it's not going to cause more damage or more hurt, then that's fine. If you think that daydreaming can help you like a little bit, if you like like an average person, I'm sure the average person daydreams like at least once a day.
Well, that could be dangerous. I feel like
But my thing is
daydreaming
like daydreaming is like
With daydreaming, that's the part where it can be bad, where it takes over. More healthier forms of coping mechanism, aside from therapy, could be hobbies, talking to friends, because it's like it's either something that's physical or some that's beneficial, exercising, another example, or you're having somebody else that's keeping you accountable. Daydreaming is going even deeper into your head, and now nobody can be accountable of you. And if the only person that's accountable of you is yourself when you're already in a bad place, that could be a recipe for disaster. So it's like yeah, sure, a little bit of daydreaming is fine. However, what if it gets too far? Like
I
if
think
you're
that just comes down to like how far you take
Yeah,
it.
that's
If
what I'm
you're
saying, right?
conscious about it and you're like
Yeah.
if you're conscious and like for example, when I'm running on when I'm walking on the treadmill, I'm not just staring at the clock. Like I'm thinking about things in my head. And
Yeah.
like you can count that as daydreaming. Like if you think about things in your head when
But
you're
you know when to like stop.
but like okay after a child like I'm not you know what I'm saying? Like okay, then in that case, like I have also suffered trauma. I still daydream, but I am not maladaptively daydreaming. I'm not choosing to daydream
Hmm.
over other things. Like that's what I mean. Like if you deal with something and daydreaming is working for you to an extent, then I think that's fine. But if it's coming to a point where you have this issue, but now this coping issue is becoming more of an issue than the original issue, then it's a problem. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
like as you mentioned, the whole act of daydreaming is not harmful.
Yeah,
It is until you take it too far.
right.
Um,
Which is what I'm trying to say with any good coping mechanism. It's pretty much it's like the same thing with like almonds are good for you, but I'm sure there's an issue if you eat like almonds every day, all day for
What?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure.
what do you mean?
Wait,
Like, you know,
What is the part that you're confused about?
I didn't know that.
what are you confused about?
Like if you eat though, what they should
Like
wait.
okay, like
I didn't
like
this was bad.
milk is good for you if you drink milk every day,
I
all
thought it's
day.
so
Oh.
good. Like
No,
you're
like
supposed
You're
to.
gonna have no other nutrients. You're gonna
no,
have
if you
Oh, like that.
consume
Like that's the only
nothing
thing.
but
Okay.
almonds.
I thought you're just eating on the side. Like, why
no,
not?
no. I mean, if you're like almonds are good for you,
I
so
don't know
I'm
what's the issue?
yeah.
It's like,
No, Levi goes, what are you confused about?
Because like I'm on the page, she's on the page,
What?
you're reading another book. What is the issue?
when did this happen? Like, when
That's
did
what
it
I mean. I was
Okay,
like,
I get
it doesn't matter like if something is good for you. If you do too much of it,
Dude,
then
I
it's
actually was
bad.
so confused. I was like, what? When did almonds become bad?
Like for example, like in your body, like white blood cells are really good for you, but if you have
Right.
too much, there's I don't know what it is, but there's a disorder if you have too many white blood
Yeah, I
cells.
think you're right.
It's like that's something that they're like good, right?
Luke, something.
Is it like
I'm not gonna say.
I don't want
I
to say
don't
it
wanna
because I might
say
be
it.
wrong.
Honestly.
So maladaptive daydreaming. So to go back into like I just realized that I was when I was explaining it before on how it was not yet recognized as a psychological disorder, it is not recognized in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
No, it's not listed
So
on there.
so in that manual, the DSM-5, that's where it's not recognized.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that's why, again, why a lot of people may not know about it, why not a lot of people are diagnosed with it because it's not officially written in there.
Is it?
However,
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
like as I was mentioning, you can go to a licensed health professional if you are experiencing it. Like as I mentioned before, but continue.
No, I mean my question is like, if a licensed professional is telling you that you are going through this like daydreaming, like why is it not in the actual manual? Like why is it not recognized?
Maybe they don't have enough
Information.
statistical evidence for
We
it.
don't have enough research done, maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm sure that like
Also, it came out in
people
2002, but
yeah, but I'm sure that people if they have some studies, and I'm sure people know about it. To
Mm.
like not like the general public, but
I feel like this is like a
licensed
very.
professionals probably know about it.
I learned about this through TikTok. Through this.
Same.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because
There
that's what
was
our last podcast is about.
you know what I
TikTok.
didn't learn that? I didn't learn that from TikTok.
Where did you learn this from?
Instagram, actually.
Oh,
She's
that's
not on
real.
TikTok.
Because I'm better than y'all because I don't have TikTok.
So
No.
real.
I'm joking. Y'all don't clip that. But
The thing is like
no.
this is a
Oh.
crazy thing. Wait, sorry.
No, but that's the satire behind it.
What?
It's like, oh, I didn't learn it from TikTok. I learned it from Instagram. Like, so y'all, that just went right over y'all's head.
Okay, I'm just
No, but
If you
We're
guys
gonna put
watched the
that
last podcast, you'd understand what she's talking
Anyway,
about.
there's a trend on TikTok that was going around during COVID time called shifting. Okay, don't think you can
Shivani has
literally.
been on this drive.
I'm on some-
I did not.
I'm on
I've
some
never
weird
seen
TikTok.
this.
You literally can search it up, and there's just millions and millions of TikToks, like not millions, but like thousands of TikTok on like shifting and shifting.
how much TikTok do you watch?
It was COVID time, bro.
Fair enough.
Shifting is a type of thing where you can shift to another reality, and there's like different type of techniques you can do to shift. Okay, it's like sleeping fully on your back and just like not moving, and like when you feel like
You know what I thought you were gonna say? You know those like animal videos where they're like shifting into other
No,
you were talking. I was like, what is she talking about?
So
basically,
when you lay on your back
and
you
you
shift
shift
the
your
turtle.
No, not that. There was these like AI shifting things that come out, and it's like
No,
a
I
dog,
know
and
what
it
you're
like
talking
turns
about.
into a person.
yes,
and runs around.
I know what you're talking about.
So it's like different techniques, but really like people found out it was more like lucid dreaming, but like on steroids. And like, it was like a different level. But then people started talking more about it and they realized it's like kind of like this like daydreaming type. Um and like people are like, no, it's like a coping mechanism. Like someone wants to escape their reality. And that's why they do all this. And then the more and more results you don't get, it's like,
So they were promoting this.
oh yeah.
Because they
like
didn't know probably
people
when
is
when the
someone
first video
created
came out, when the first person made this video, he or she was probably dealing with that and thought it was a good way to cope.
And I don't know, they
and
might have been
then-
this. And they were daydreaming and
It's
that was
honestly like like a lot of people substance abuse, and they kind of go into it thinking like, oh, okay, think about it, like in the grand scheme of things, like consuming a certain amount of drinks per year, per month probably is like okay. Like I'm sure they say like red wine is like good for you, whatever. But so they're probably going into like, oh, it's just one drink. Like it's just one thing.
Fine in
And then
moderation.
yeah, it's like fine in moderation.
Yeah.
'Cause yeah, it is fine in moderation,
Yeah.
technically. And even like marijuana is legal in California. So
It's medical. There's medical marijuana.
yeah, so like even that is like I'm sure is not it is I'm sure it's bad for you, but like so is everything, I feel like. But I'm sure it's okay to do in moderation, you know?
Okay.
And I feel like people go into that thinking like, you know what, like I'll just try it. And then they're like, okay, so when I'm when I'm taking these substances, I feel a sense of like relief. And then maybe you're not daydreaming, but you're still feeling like, oh, like I don't have to worry about that. And then it starts to go into like, I'm gonna keep doing this every time I get upset. And then it's basically like the
Yeah.
same thing without any substance. It's
It's
like
Yeah,
through
like
your head.
these people would create like scripts, like their name, their like age, character, like what they want to be. They want to like shift into like a movie like world, like the Harry Potter series, like hypothetically, and like be in a relationship with this character, have these friends, and they would just create the script, sleep under it with a pillow.
What?
Yeah, like it gets deep, bruh. They sleep with an underpill and then they do a shifting technique. There's so many techniques out there which people like talk about. They're like, I invented a new technique, guys. Like, make sure you do it. And people who weren't getting the results would be like sobbing. Like I would see videos of them like sobbing, being like this is not working. I just want to go there. I just want to be there. Like I want to escape this world. And it just like it got really deep. But I don't know what happened to it. I think it fell off. But like
Oh
That's what
my
happens with
God.
trends.
so
Eventually it
many
goes away.
people were like, there was like a
I mean, I probably take with TikTok again, and it probably fell off for you. It's probably still
on for
on
other
someone
people.
else's
Like if
page.
you, I'm telling you, search it up, you will find so many TikToks
Let me
on
search it up right now.
it. Detour. Yeah.
Well, while we take that detour, there is a self-assessment that you could do. So, Maladaptive Daydreaming Scale, MDS 16, is a oh, you found it. So, it's a self-assessment questionnaire that was developed in 2016, and it's to help determine whether or not you are experiencing maladaptive daydreaming. And it's just a few questions that you can answer, and it's looking at your symptoms, how severe they are, what level they're at, and being it the tool cannot provide you an actual medical diagnosis. It could just tell you where you're at and how severe it might be. It's suitable for people over the age of 13 typically, and it's a scale. But yeah, you guys can look that up and try it. But you said
The
you
video.
found the video.
Oh, you wanna
Let's watch
elaborate on
it
it?
together. This is
Oh wait, yeah, it's
crazy.
like a thing.
So basically, I don't know if you can hear the video, but she's basically connecting shifting
To like
to like
religion,
how the religion, like
like
how the
how
world
God
was
was like
made.
Necessarily. So she's what she
Not
just
religion,
said
but like how the
is
world was made.
yeah.
she's like not to disrespect religion, but if y'all can believe a man split the ocean apart, then you can believe this.
Also, we're not gonna put the creator or anything. We're not gonna mention that. And we
Mention the creator, but we're gonna watch the
React.
creator
We're
and we're
gonna
gonna
react to it.
react.
yes.
Like I said, I'm not like disrespecting anyone's religion.
You know what this sounds like? Like you
Lucid
know, like
dreaming.
hypnosis.
Yeah,
But
hypnosis.
hypnosis, like someone else is taking
I honestly think it's
the
perfect for
charge of
lucid
your
dreaming.
body.
Are you familiar with lucid dreaming and stuff?
I feel like I've heard
You
this.
Lucid
sleep.
dream.
Okay. I got you. Lucid dreaming it's a real thing. It happens to a lot of people. You can dream and but like know you're in the dream.
Okay.
Like you can control your dreams.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually know a few people that like go through that.
Really?
Like they're
Wait, what do you
they're
mean? What do you
asleep,
mean?
but they're
You're
controlling their
you're
actions.
sleeping, but you're awake in your mind and you're controlling your actions. So your physical body is asleep, but
When
your
you go to
mind is
sleep,
awake.
you wake up in this world, and you
Are
Is that
yourself
not what a
know.
regular dream is?
No.
No. You know, when you think of a dream, you replay those memories when you wake up. Like you wake up, you know what happened in your dream. That's
Pretend that
not lucid
you're
dreaming.
sleeping,
Yeah,
right?
you're sleeping. You're
And
supposed to be.
there is
But
an apple above you.
hmm
Do you tell yourself to pick the apple, or do you just watch
Just
yourself do
you're
it?
watching it through third
Like, do
person
you
in a dream,
watch the
correct?
dream happen?
Or are you actually
yeah,
grabbing?
you watch it happen.
Right.
So lucid dreaming is you're grabbing the apple. You can be
You
like, grab the
choose,
apple.
you are now
Yeah.
like in a video game.
Yeah.
How does one even identify that
You
they're
have to
doing
be
that?
you know you're awake, but you're sleeping. Like you're able to fly, you're able to eat cake, like
How do you know like I'm just so confused at how that's even
you don't
identified. Because like how do you
you don't know
okay,
until
if
you
you know
experience
you're
it, you know?
awake, then how do you know you're sleeping?
Remember when you just talked about like
Yeah,
how
you
it's hard to
don't
explain to
explain
people
how
you
you
don't
feel
get
until you
it? Like
Wait, have you guys experienced
No,
it?
but
just
I
like the
know people who have.
smallest extent, like for like very small amount of time is my brain able to actually
Oh
get
my
to that point.
God.
It's not an ability, but like
Yeah, it's
But
like
it's like I'm
oh
like
my
I'm
God.
beyond this like
Wait, I
supernatural
have
Avatar,
there
like,
are like techniques to lucid dream.
well, I
You can
don't want
learn.
to.
No,
no,
I don't want to
but
either, but
like I like
So okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you
I
this because you said
no,
you've experienced it.
no, no.
like
Well,
to
okay,
this.
Slightly.
small extent, but like if this might answer your future question, um, to the people that I know that have actually gone through it to a lot greater extents than I have, they'll be asleep for hours, like 10, 11, 12 hours past when they already woke up. So in the day, and they'll sleep, they'll go through this mental simulation, and then they'll wake up still feeling tired because
They didn't
they
You
sleep.
can sleep. Your mind's not asleep, your body's asleep. It's so crazy. It's so
and
interesting.
that,
So okay,
yeah.
so my question is, do people that are lucid dreaming know that they're sleeping in like the real reality?
Mhm. You are aware of your
Do
surroundings. You
people
know what's
like how do you even get there? Like why how do you move from dreams like normal dreams to that? Because like you know dreams like you know how they say like you dream every time you sleep, but the chances are you don't remember your dream.
happening.
Yeah.
So
Lucid dream, you remember everything. Like you are in control of your dream.
so you I literally so if I was lucid dreaming, like I literally remember everything in
Everything
that dream like it's a
and
memory.
like a memory, but you are also in control. Like you are controlling your dream. You're able to be like, oh, you know what? I want to see a cake, like cake right now. Boom, cake. Or like a dog.
Did we ever finish the sorry.
Oh, wait, no. I was
No.
elaborating to that, but like there was a technique that formed from shifting that was like lucid dream method where people would lucid dream and then imagine a door opening to your new reality and you have to walk through the door.
Hmm.
So crazy.
This is like Alice in the Wonderland
Mm-hmm.
type.
Like you're escaping your
Sure.
realities.
She said, I just came out of a she said I just shifted, came out half an hour ago. Like it's been half an hour since like
She
she
shifted.
shifted. And she just
Okay.
came back. That's what she said.
We just say she said she's so real.
No, because like I have a really hard time controlling my face sometimes. So words, I'll be like, indubitably. But my
What is that?
quite understandable. Yes. Let me hear you out. But my face is like, be so for real.
No, yeah.
You saying?
Wait, what did she say?
So basically when she slept, her bedroom door was opened. When
Oh,
she
and
shifted,
it
her
was
bedroom door was
closed.
closed.
So she shifted into another reality of her
What
house.
she shifted?
Like
Like it's
in
a
her
different,
in her
she went to a
mind.
different
The
reality.
same thing. It's this. It's
I would
literally
think
this.
it's this. Just
It's
a
no,
really extreme version of it.
but like
And this is people like
see, this is
consciously
how
choosing.
miscommunication happens and misinformation happens. Okay, this is just the Marvel
we figured it out.
multiverse. We went
It is the
We
Matrix.
figured out how to get there.
we
No,
went
it is.
from maladaptive daydreaming to the Marvel multiverse and
you're
quantum
right, though.
realms.
That's
and
what they call it. They call it different multiverses. You're hopping into a different multiverse. Or I guess universe.
But the difference is the actual consciousness of this. I'm like,
No, she's conscious in this.
no, but like
Basically, you
she
shift,
genuinely
you shift.
no,
You don't.
she's conscious. Like this person is conscious of the made up alternate reality.
Okay, so it's not.
This person thinks that they're shifting from one reality to another.
Basically, you shift, and then you would be waking up to another reality, and you feel like it's the real world. Like
You feel like it's the real world,
you
or
feel
you
like-
know, oh, this is just
you know
another
it's a
real world.
you know
No,
it's
you
another.
feel you.
Like
No,
you're
no.
going through it basically. Like,
It's okay
you as present
because
this reality, and if you shifted, you would be in a different reality, going through life just like the way you are right now. Does that
wait,
make sense?
what?
But you know it's not.
You know it's
real.
not real.
Oh, okay,
You know
okay,
it's
okay.
fake, but you're just
But it's the same. You're going through the same thing. Like you're like so. If you were doing this shifting right now,
Yeah.
You'd wake up.
Shifting, go close your eyes.
You'd wake up in this room.
Sorry, let me just.
You imagine whatever reality
Okay,
you
shift,
want.
write it and put it next to your head.
We're sleeping.
Write it and put it next to your
You
head.
imagine.
Hey, Alina. Or what do you want to be called today?
You imagine whatever world you want in that little script, and then you wake up to that new world. Let's
This
say you're
is-
going to Harry Potter, like Hogwarts and stuff. Like, you would imagine you're there, and you would see it, and you would physically be there.
I feel
This
like
is
this
a
would
really
take way
interesting
too much
coping
brain power.
mechanism.
Like, I don't think that I could achieve the shifting.
No, shifting is like, it was crazy.
But the thing is, like, we're getting our sources TikTok, so
Right.
these
Yeah.
people could be making it up. We could never
That's
know.
my
Or they,
point.
who knows?
Like, because
Who
like
knows?
That's what we don't know. We don't
the
know.
part that where I find this to be somewhat amusing is that they look like they're our age.
Oh
And-
yeah, they are.
and-
There's no adults on the app saying
this
like
is-
shifting is real. It's only our generation.
But that's my point where I'm not trying to disparage the practice.
We just have no actual proof
It's
Yeah,
not
of this
necessarily.
of this.
There's no
thing.
research. There's no credibility.
So
there
the
is
next
no.
episode is on shifting only. We're gonna elaborate on it.
There's no like peer review. You know, like peer review on shifting. But like, there's none of that, which. It's like, we could be looking at this down the line 20 years doing another
And
podcast
be like,
episode
we were
being
so
like,
wrong.
wait,
though.
What
so
I actually experienced shifting.
actually, you know what? I was actually shifting the other day. It's actually how I got here. I'm super laughing. And then we're gonna go and upload the podcast years later and we're gonna go cut to a
It's gonna
clip of
come.
us
It's gonna
doing
come on the
this.
trend. It's gonna come on their page and be like these like people on this episode. They like talked really bad
You know
about
what? That's gonna
shifting.
get us clout. You know what?
They talked really bad about us. Like, we know it's real. Sorry.
Worst comes to worst, we'll get more viewers. That's fine.
You're right.
But that is all we have to say today about maladaptive daydreaming. Because
And all the other topics that we were talking about.
we just went from lucid dreams to maladaptive daydreaming to shifting, hallucinations,
anxiety,
having
shifting,
panic
dissociative
attacks as a child, and then
split
laughing at
personality. We were watching TikToks on this app. We were telling you about some movies. Like,
Hey, got
Gotta
some
watch
good
it.
movie
Split.
recommendations. At the
Split.
very least, you got a good movie recommendation.
what is it
out
called?
of this.
Split. Okay, the movie is
There's
called
3
Split.
movies in the
Um,
series, but watch Split first and then
Split
watch it.
first.
And then I think it's Fractured, and then there's one more.
There's a glass.
Glass is the last one.
And
Glass is like more like sequels from other movies put in one movie.
it's based off of like actual
I think
comic book
I
characters.
would say Split is the most realistic one. Who like
Starring-
dissociative like
James McAvoy. Phenomenal performance.
Okay,
you're gonna watch and give us your review next time.
yes.
So next
I-
episode, she's
I
gonna be
will-
giving a review.
yes.
She starts it off with a
Period.
review.
Okay, but that's all for today. We will catch you guys on our next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.